Okay, so we're going to do a little experiment. This is basically undisturbed desert. And I'm going to take a little bit of water, pour it on, and you can see it runs off. Some of it soaks in, but mostly it runs off. And if you were to scratch below this, you can see you get to dry dirt pretty fast. So when it rains, what does the water do? Okay, we're taking a look at Usery Mountain now. And the Usery Mountain Watershed, which feeds into Signal Butte Wash. So it's Signal Butte Wash. It starts up here. You can see this white stripe. And the water runs down the sides of the mountain. It goes around this little hill, which is called Cat's Peak, and it flows right down here through this desert wash, and then down further into Signal Butte Wash, which is a little ways away. We're going to explore this wash a little bit and take a look at some of the vegetation. First of all, you can see how it's sandy. So the wash is sandy. Most of the clays have been washed away. And the banks are covered with very fine clays and rocks that are held in place by the plants. Some of the vegetation you see includes saguaros. There's a big saguaro cactus. And let's see, what am I looking at over here? So there's some more rocks and things. There's a dead stick. Okay. Here we go. This is a cholla. This is a very common plant in the Sonoran Desert. And they look fuzzy, but they're very spiny. Some people call them jumping cholla because it's almost like they jump off and stick to you. This one's kind of neat. It has a section that has died, and you can see that this cholla skeleton inside. Saguaros have skeletons too. They almost look like trees or branches when they fall apart. Here's a little creosote bush. This is also common in many of the deserts of the Southwest. Some grasses. I think there's a mesquite, and some of the other plants we're looking at along the wash here. But you can see that the Sonoran Desert is really fairly lush. When I came on this hike, you could see animals everywhere. Most of them left by the time I pulled my phone out to take this video. Here's a Palo Verde, that's the state tree. And there's a mesquite, a little mesquite tree. Right there, even has a pack rat midden inside it. Let's go ahead and walk over here to a different wash, and then I'm going to take you on a little jog and show you the reason why Usery Park is really here. It's a beautiful place. It's one of my favorite places in Arizona. I come here a lot. I run the trails, do some hiking. There's a cave, but that's not the reason this park is here. The other nice thing about this park is most of the county parks, Maricopa County parks, are urban parks. They weren't always urban, but now they have cities that have grown up around them. Usery Park butts up against Forest Service land. So to the north, you're going to encounter the Salt River, which is on Forest Service land. We're getting a little closer to the reason why Usery Park is here. And you can see the vegetation is a little sparse. I'm purposely hiding it from you right now. And I want to get there fast because this is kind of a stretch where most of the vegetation is gone. There aren't a lot of washes. It's been managed and scraped away. And here's the reason why the park is here. This is Signal Butte Wash. Look what they've done to it. They put a big dog leg in it. They've scraped most of the wash away and made cofferdams. I came here once after a heavy rain, and these were almost like little lakes. And there's Superstition Mountain, home of the Lost Dutchman gold mine, to give you an idea of where we are. Here's another cofferdam. It ponds up behind the dams. And why do you think the rocks are there? What's the purpose of all those rocks? I'll let you think about that. I don't want to give any secrets away. But these dams trap the water. It doesn't flow over the dam. It just sits there. And the fine silts actually keep it from soaking into the ground. So what happens to the water? There's Usery Mountain again. You can see the white stripe, and you can see where we were earlier, and including the Palo Verdes in the foreground there, up against the bank that we looked at a minute ago. And look at all these rocks, and they're all cemented in place. There's another dam, and you can see more in the distance. And then in the far distance, you see another big dam. And beyond that, it's housing. Housing. Everywhere you look. So what's the purpose of Usery Park? I'll let you think about it. Think about what they've done to the watershed. Why did they have to do it? And is it in balance? You can see there's even a road on the dogleg. Beautiful place to go. If you ever get a chance, though, highly recommend it. Next stop, we're going to take a look at some of the ways people have basically learned to live around flooded areas. So here's the neighborhood. And not flooded areas, but the washes and the drainages, to see what they've done. There are houses all around this neighborhood. The water doesn't soak in. They have to channel it somehow. And for the most part, they follow the lines of the natural washes. So we're walking a little closer to this one. There's the rocks again, different kind of rocks, but they're all river rocks that are mined locally. And once we get beyond the houses and into this kind of this sandy area, you can see there's one wash off to the right where those mesquite trees are, and then an island with some vegetation that's not native, and palm trees and more houses, and a green grassy area. It's kind of nice. I've been here in this spot when it's flooding, and the water's flowing pretty fast, but it tends to slow down when it gets to these rocks in this island, and then it starts to pond up. I'm stumbling over the rocks a little bit, but there's a few things I want to point out. If you look kind of off to the right, there's another green grassy area and a road, and then over here to the left you can see it flows even further. Most of the parks in our area are actually flood control, and they follow the washes, and sometimes the washes get to be pretty full of water. When they're full of water, there can be some good erosion going on. Here's another view, looking a little further along. There's the island where we were, and some of the neighborhood. You can see the branches in the wash, and we're heading towards that culvert. And I'm going to take you inside the culvert because there's another surprise. Actually, a couple surprises. One of them was a little spooky. So I used to run through here. It's close to the neighborhood where I used to live. Okay, here we are inside the culvert. You can see that there are a lot of culvert operations happening in here. Just kidding. But there's a lot of graffiti and things. And once we get outside the culvert, I want you to listen very carefully because there's one of those surprises. But there's another surprise that you'll see. You can kind of see those two black things in the distance. That's another culvert. And it's for very interesting purpose. I was really hoping not to find anybody.
Hello?
But hello. Okay, back I go.
No, sorry.
Luckily, I didn't go down the right side. I went down the left side. But those two culverts have a lot to do with the reason why that is there. So now we're back above the viaduct, and this is the road that covers it. This storm drain actually dumps water down into that viaduct, and there are the culverts we looked at a minute ago. And here is the interesting thing, and the biggest clue to how they manage the watershed in central Arizona. Closer to it now, the road is going over it. People overlook it all the time. They don't even think about this, and it's something kind of unique. There's Usery Mountain again with the white stripe where we were earlier, and Superstition Mountain where the Lost Dutchman gold mine is, and all that myth. Anybody figure out what we're looking at? It's not a river, but it kind of is. So this is a canal, and all of the water in central Arizona, in the Phoenix area, Tucson area, has been heavily managed by these canals. And this is a very special canal. It's part of the Central Arizona Project, built in 1973. and it brings Colorado River water in to central Arizona. It flows hundreds of miles inland, and they use it for irrigation and to build neighborhoods, so that's Colorado River water. The fish are even different than what you'd find in the Salt River. And there's a place about 5 miles from here where the Salt River is in a canal that actually crosses over this canal. So you have Salt River water crossing over the Colorado River. Now, this is the neighborhood where I currently live. It's downstream. It's still in the kind of the Signal Butte wash drainage or Signal Butte watershed. And look what they've done with the drainage here. Green, lush golf course. And cleverly disguising a flood channel. There's some beautiful rainbows. And yes, that is not reclaimed water. That is 100% drinkable water coming out of those things. Isn't that nice? And so that's my neighborhood. And that's kind of how they do things. We even have some faux nature here, you'll see in just a second, to attract people to our neighborhood. I kind of like it. You can see there's a little fountain off to the left and a nice little pond, even with a waterfall. Well, thank you for sharing this watershed adventure with me. Just to point a few things out, so you can see that the water, the golf course is actually lower than all the houses, and it splits off into a stream. Now for a little treat. This is Usery Mountain Park. Just silence. It's about a minute and a half of just silence looking around. Enjoy.